Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to be together again tonight. For all of our council members, for everyone here, and for those who cannot be with us, we're grateful. Thank you for this beautiful day again, and for all the blessings that we have. We pray for your mercy, your guidance, and your direction that we may serve you and the wishes and the followings of Christ. We pray in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. To the members of council and those present and those who cannot be here, I checked my email about 10 minutes ago, and I have an important email to share with you. It came about 4 something. I haven't checked it, so here's the email I want to read to you. It's dated November the 9th, 2021. It's to Rodney Curry. I'm going to read it from my phone. It's pretty difficult. Rodney Curry, Mayor, Town of Richlands, 200 Washington Square, Richlands, Virginia, 24641. First of all, I would like to thank you for your gracious spirit and superior leadership skills. I haven't read this, so this is new to me. I'll start over. First of all, I would like to thank you for your gracious spirit and superior leadership skills that have substantially changed the dynamic in the council chambers. I consider you a friend and a wealth of knowledge, which I'll always cherish. Due to a series of life-changing events, I've decided that it is in the best interest of myself and the town if I relinquish my position as a member of the Richlands Town Council. Regrettably, I am making this resignation effective immediately. I hope you will accept this resignation. As this resignation will leave my seat vacated, I would like to take the opportunity to encourage the council to nominate Laura Mallow, who ran in a special election and placed second in the number of votes cast. I believe this to be the will of the voters, and I believe the council should consider Ms. Mallow for my vacant seat. Ms. Mallow has shown herself to be an exemplary citizen with knowledge of law and procedure. I cannot think of anyone more qualified to fill my seat. I would encourage the council to hold a special election as soon as possible. It has been my tremendous honor to serve the citizens of Richlands as a member of council and as a citizen serving the Freedom Festival Committee and the Community Development Committee. I have served many years in those capacities, which led to wonderful relationships with businesses and citizens. I have found myself increasingly strapped for time the last few months, and I feel these time constraints are a disadvantage to the citizens of Richlands. I feel the honorable thing to do is stand down for now. My intent to serve the people of Richlands will always be a thought in the forefront of my mind. As I previously stated, I feel it has been a tremendous honor to serve the citizens that entrusted me with their support. It is my sincere hope that they feel I have honored their wishes to the best of my ability. I will continue to do so as a citizen. It is also my hope that the entire council will begin to hear the voices of this town. I feel that many concerns are overlooked and unheard. I would remind the members of the council that as easily as you were elected, you may be unelected if you choose to continue to look past the will of those who elected you to your seat. I will continue to be a voice for the citizens of Richlands. Sincerely, C. Logan Plaster. So I just received that. I'm going to try, if you will allow me, please, I'm going to forward this to the town manager and the clerk. Let me see if I can do this, okay? So you'll have it for the record. Sorry, guys, but I thought that was very important. Richlands, Conning, Allen. It's coming your way for the record.
May I speak, Mayor?
Yes, just 1 second, please, if you may. So he asked me to read that again to make sure I'm reading it right, because he said, I hope you will accept my resignation. So as the mayor, I accept it. That is, I just saw that shortly ago, so I'm reading to you what I got. So before we move on, we've had the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. I've read this email from Councilman Plaster, who's resigned his seat. Doug, did you want to say something?
Yeah, can I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we name Laura Milo to the council. She was the second vote getter, and I think Logan Plaster is absolutely right. She would deserve that position. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Well, there's a motion on the floor to nominate Ms. Milo to fill the unexpired term of Councilmember Plaster. I'm a little off guard here, so please forgive me, okay? His letter, it says have a special election. I'm a little confused with that, but there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
There's a second. Okay, there's a motion and a second to appoint Laura Milo to fill the unexpired term of Councilman Plaster. I'll open the floor up to discussion.
Well, I guess if it's anything like my situation, whoever would be appointed till the next election, correct?
Would
Then there would be
defer
four
to-
seats. Then there would be four
Attorney.
seats for the next election.
When was Logan's term up? He came in with which group?
Michael's.
Doug, Mike.
Okay, how many years do you have
I have 3.5.
remaining?
3 months and 2 days and 15 hours.
But
And who's counting?
I think you have to have a special election.
Is that
She-
what's required?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in November there would be 4 seats open. And
4 seats instead of 3.
Right. If we name Mrs. Milo to the council, she would have to run with
Next
us,
election.
or with who the 4.
Well, I needed that to be explained to me, and maybe for the benefit of the council and everybody else. So there's a motion on the floor by Doug and a second by Jeff to appoint Laura Milo to fill the unexpired term of Logan Plaster, understanding that she'll be a part of she would be a part of a special election. Is that correct? In November of 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
I want to make sure we've got this right.
Mayor, if I may, it would be a special election that council could place on a general election day. Council has the ability to set another election day, but that is a very costly process.
Right.
And that's why it's typically, it would be held on the same election day of November to keep the cost down for the town, since registrar would already have everything set up at that time.
Okay.
But we will have to petition the Tazewell Circuit Court for a writ of election. And also, it is up to the council if you want to appoint somebody within 45 days.
I appreciate your counsel,
To the
Counselor.
45 days.
45 days.
Such as we did after I vacated my seat to become the mayor, and then we petitioned the council for a special election. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We just did. Okay. Thank you.
But you're saying the correct procedure we're now that we can.
Right.
Okay.
You're on the correct path.
Okay. There's a motion by Doug on the floor and a second by Jeff. The floor is open to discussion. Is there any discussion?
I'll speak. Personally, I think there needs to be an application process. I was very quick to appoint Jeff. Looking back on that, Jeff, I like you a lot. I'm not sure I should have done it. Right? Not saying you're not the right person for the job. But I didn't give anyone an opportunity to put their hand up. I appointed Jeff because I thought Jeff wanted to do it. He was just on a seat. And Ms. Marlowe let me know numerous times that I did that in about 30 seconds. So, not to say that Ms. Marlowe wouldn't do a fine job. I'm just in favor of an application process.
Can I speak one more time?
Yes, sir.
The election was so close. It's only been a week. And the will of the people, she came in second. And I can see where Mikey's coming from. But I think this is a different situation in that the election was only a week ago. And she came in second, so the will of the people would say that she should be named to council.
Okay.
But you also have to remember that that's Logan's seat, not Jeff's seat. So how does that make it fair that we wouldn't give it to the person who finished fourth in your election that seat was full.
Fourth, that would be
Because there was already
Rick.
70 votes between Logan and the fourth place. So
That was Rick.
Rick Wood would also have just as much as a say in the seat because that was that election.
Yeah, but the closer election was a week ago, and the
But that
speaker.
wasn't for that seat. I get what you're saying, and I'm not completely, I just,
Okay,
I think there's an application process that we did.
okay, so Doug, again, has made a motion, Jeff seconded, and Mike has, entered his, idea in discussion, and, Doug has given his thoughts. Is there anyone else? Mary Ann?
As I told Miss Mallow, I respect, she worked extremely hard. I always respect and admire hard work. So I'm not saying that she's not the right person to fill Logan's seat, but like Mikey described, I've learned a lot. Laura has made a lot of good points to us, and one of those being an application process. So I'm not saying that she would not get the vacant seat, but I would have to agree with Mikey, in my opinion, is that we have 45 days that we go through an application process.
Okay. Is there anyone else on council who would like to speak?
Like I said,
There being-
Rod, I was just gonna say, being involved in the election, that was a week ago. Any of those candidates, Ms. Milo or Mr. Jackson, either one of those would be fine replacements for this. And, like I said, as sort of Doug said, being in second place in the election, with the number of votes that she got, would be a good representation for the town. So that's why I seconded the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from members of council? Okay. Being no further discussion, I will call for the question. Madam Clerk, would you please take a roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
No,
Motion does not carry. Thank you. Let's move on.
I would like to make another motion.
Yes,
I'll make the motion that we begin the process with John O'Daniel of an application process and discuss later in the meeting as to what that would look like and when we should do that, obviously very soon, but I think it should be an application process. I make the motion that it be an application process for that vacancy.
okay. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Okay. Mike has made the motion to have an application process, and Mary Ann has seconded that motion. I'll open the floor for discussion from members of council. Is there any discussion on an application process? Members of council?
The only thing I would say is I do think it's deserving of a quick process. I know we only have 45 days anyway, but that we move on this quickly and be prepared at our December meeting to appoint the next council member for Logan's vacancy.
Okay. So you're suggesting, it's not in the motion, Miriam, but you're suggesting that we do it before the next meeting? Is that right?
We have the applications, and then at our December meeting, we vote and have the person appointed.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm with you. I just want to make sure I understand. But the motion is, as you stated, is that right, Mike? Just to have an application process and we can iron out the
We
details.
can iron those out.
And, okay, I appreciate the input. Doug?
Okay. I'd like to expand on what Mikey said then. If we want the will of the people, then why can't we limit it to the last two elections of the two people that got the most votes in second place? Limit it to Mr. Woods and limit it to Miss Marlowe, because that's the will of the people. I don't think council has the right to have their choices. Why can't we go by the voters? It seems like we never do, But in this case, I think we should, and limit it to those two people.
Thank you, Doug. And as I said to Mary Ann and I'll say to you too, those apparently, from what I'm understanding the motion, those are details that would be ironed out later in council.
Could I make a motion?
Well, there's a motion on the floor in a second.
Okay, let's do that one.
Is there any further discussion on Mike's motion that we have an application process?
Clarification,
Yes.
essentially, this is an addition or deletion to the agenda, so we'll add it further down for discussion on.
Right. When we ask for additions and deletions to the agenda, we'll add this.
For further discussion later.
Yes, yes. And that's a healthy way to look at that. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Mike makes the motion for an application process. Mary Ann seconds it. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Okay, there being no further discussion, I will ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, can I make another motion?
Yes, you may.
Could I make the motion that we limit it to follow the will of the people, both elections, that we limit it, those applications to Mr. Woods, as Mikey so eloquently brought up, and between Ms. Marlowe. And we do the research on those two applications and limit it to those two.
There's a
Marlowe, I
motion
think
on-
it's Marlowe.
It's Marlowe. There's a motion on the floor to limit it to two people. Mr. Wood, is that what you said? Rick Wood?
Yeah, but
And
since
Laura
they
Marlowe.
were
To be clear
second.
what the motion is, okay. This application process. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Richard seconds the motion. Is there discussion on Doug's motion to limit the application process to two people, specifically Rick Wood and Laura Marlowe? Am I correct, Doug?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And Richard seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on this motion? Members of council, thoughts?
I'm not sure if I want it to be limited to that.
Okay.
We have an example in this room right now. And that's Seth White on Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
Which I thought was handled incredibly well. Seth did not run in that fall election. And that takes politics completely out of it. So, I'm not sure. I haven't had time to think about it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I know the process of that application process for the county board of supervisors. And when I envisioned what this may look like, I was looking at that. And I liked that. That's my, I think there should be some fine print. Personally.
Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
Is there any other discussion on this motion made by Doug and seconded by Richard? Okay. There being no further discussion, I will ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 No.
No.
Motion carries. Okay. As the mayor, I would like to make a suggestion that we hold further detail for what is proposed to be an addition to the agenda. I will suggest that. Thank you. Does everyone have their agenda before them?
Yes.
Additions or deletions to the agenda? John, do you have an addition here? I believe you do.
Just one under closed session, add number, it's 7 for attorney-client privilege.
Where is it, John?
Under closed session,
Okay.
so A 29 and 7. Number 7 will be the attorney-client privilege.
Okay. So under Roman numeral 14, is that what you're saying? We want to add B, item B? Is that what you're saying? Is that right?
Yes.
Attorney-client privilege. All right. Is there a code for that, please?
That's the same one that's in A, instead of 29 at the end, it's 7.
And it's a parentheses A7?
Yes.
All right. All right, so I know one more we need to add, and that is discussion on this application process, which could, I think we should discuss it, but my thinking is right now, we're all sort of, or I certainly am in a state of surprise of how to get an application together in council. We can discuss it, but I think we may have to go into detail for that. So, but I think we should add it. Would someone like to suggest where that should be? Probably definitely after public comments, I guess. I will ask for suggestions on that. I do not know. Where would council like that to be placed?
I recommend you just make it for letter I under H, under agenda items.
What Roman numeral, John?
9.
9.
Okay, so it'll be letter I. Okay, I'll put application discussion. Okay. All right. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor,
Yes.
I don't know where the appropriate place for this be, but I would like to get it in and out as quick as possible to discuss the conditional use permit that we discussed earlier in the public hearing.
Okay. So in order to facilitate a rapid discussion, maybe we should have that as early as possible.
Yes, sir, wherever you'd like to stick it
I
in.
would suggest consent, in consideration of, could we make it Roman numeral 6, and we'll change it to 6A, like Roman numeral 6, and make that a 6A? Does council feel satisfied with that suggestion? After Roman numeral 6, we'll put 6A. Acceptable? Okay. One thing I want to be sure to do, we have scheduled public comments, Laura Malo. We have Roman numeral 8, unscheduled public comments. Those will be 3 minutes. On the sign-up sheet with Shanna Plaster, is there anyone present who would like to speak under unscheduled public comments? That's a 3-minute time limit. Anyone else who would like to speak under Roman numeral 8, unscheduled public comments? All quiet out there in the western front. Thank you. And it stands. Okay, thank you. Ms. Plaster, you have been added. Please add Shanna Plaster to Roman numeral 8 under unscheduled public comments. Okay. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? We're looking very carefully. Okay. Okay, there being no further changes to the agenda, is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion, we accept it as amended.
Jeff makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mary Ann seconds. This is a case where I ask for a very clear voice vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Doug, is that an aye from you?
Yes.
Making sure. Okay. The motion carries. Okay, next, approval of the minutes. Does everyone have the minutes in front of them? I believe we have 2 sets. Okay. So we have 2 sets of minutes. We have the public hearing, which was held on October the 12th, 2021 at 5:30, and we have the regular council minutes of October the 12th at 2021 at 6 p.m. Let's take the first set. Any additions or corrections to the minutes for the public hearing? Okay, let's put that aside. Any additions or corrections to the minutes of the regular council meeting of October the 12th? Okay, apparently there are no additions, corrections to the minutes. So we'll ask for a motion from council to approve both sets of minutes as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Jeff makes the motion to accept both sets of minutes as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Doug seconds. I will ask for a voice vote. Please be clear so that I can hear you and be accurately what we're doing. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next we have the consent agenda, which is the authorization to pay the bills for September. Does everyone have the list of bills in front of you? Everyone have the list of the bills in front of you? We have 2 check registers, okay?
I make a motion, we authorize Mr. O'Daniel to pay the bills.
Okay. There is a motion to pay the bills as they are stand. Is there a second to that?
I'll second the motion.
Mary Ann seconds. This is an opportunity. We have a motion on the floor and we have a second. This is an opportunity. If you have any questions about any of the bills that have been paid, that we are authorizing Mr. O'Daniel to pay. I hear no further discussion on that, so I will call for a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Before we get into scheduled public comments, I have 2 things that I would like to request. One is, and it is what I think, whoever has their phone on, would you please mute that? Yes.
Yeah. We added 6A.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, still, I would appreciate someone muting their phone. It's distracting. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're adding 6A. Richard, this is regarding the application of bad actuary. Is that correct?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming that we had proper notice regarding the public hearing. Honestly, I missed it and didn't even know we were having this hearing until I got my council packet on Friday. Is there a separate conditional use permit that we're looking at having to grant for this bad act for this business?
Yes, separate from,
I mean, is there a different, I guess what I'm getting at is we've issued conditional use permits over and over again for mobile homes without not involving the planning commission. And I was wondering why the planning commission had to be involved in this one.
I think the way it's written, because it's an entertainment business, it requires a public hearing of the planning commission and then one of town council. So
I think,
instead of having 2 separate ones, we try to put them together.
I think that specifically talks about pool halls. If you read the.
But it says any entertainment such as, but I don't have a copy in front of me, but the way we interpreted this as an entertainment type business.
But in the long run, it's gonna be the same conditional use permit that we grant, correct?
A similar one.
I mean, that's the question I have. Do
Well,
we
I guess the reason for the conditional use is, you want to ask a question, how late are you going to be open? Are you going to allow people of a certain age? Are you going to have alcohol? Things of that nature. So, at this point, depending on what kind of entertainment it is, you can set additional requirements for the business. Is the intent of the process to make sure that if somebody does open a business that if there's any additional requirements that council or the planning commission recommends to council, that they can be discussed.
I have a question, John. Richard had asked me about this out in the hall, and I really don't have the right answer, so you have answered him as best you can. If the planning commission were to proceed with its own public hearing, how quickly can that occur?
I would have to check, but I believe the way it is, I believe they have to do 2 ads and they have to be so many days before and not up to so many days, ahead of time, and then not, and the last ad has to be so many days till the meeting. So I would anticipate 3 to 4 weeks. But I would have to look, so that you would get 2 advertisements in the newspaper, 2 different weeks, and then for them to have the meeting.
Is that in something that's in the zoning?
I believe it is.
Richard, I don't know how to answer you, but my time on the commission, for those who remember Richard Vance, I miss him. He was trying to explain to me, in the zoning, if it's not a listed use, it's just not there. It's not saying no. It's just not a yes because it's not listed. I'm not arguing against this at all. Please know this. I'm just trying to understand procedure as well. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that based on the results and the recommendation of the planning commission for council to go ahead and approve the conditional use permit based on the approval of the planning commission.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor for the council to give its approval based on the recommendation of the planning commission. Did I
Correct.
word that correctly?
To grant the conditional use permit.
So if the planning commission comes with a favorable recommendation, the manager would be allowed to give the conditional use. If for some reason, I don't anticipate it, if the planning commission was to give a recommendation against it, then it would have to come back to council.
I'm just
Is
trying
I
to
understanding it correctly?
Yes, sir, I'm
Richard?
just trying to knock a step out to
Yes.
get this quicker for these people
And
that's trying to
I
open a
appreciate
business in the town and, invest in
Okay.
the future.
I'll second that.
There's a second to the motion. All right, is there any discussion on this motion by Richard and seconded by Doug? Okay, there being no discussion, I will ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Motion carries unanimously. So, John, I think the direction from the council is for you to advertise a public hearing as soon as possible. Is that what council is to understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for the phone thing. That's just me and maybe others. It distracts me. All right, now, I was asked to reiterate this, but the town manager, and it does help to facilitate an orderly meeting. We had what was called an embedded resolution that has, and I think he's right to ask me to do this, that helps with decorum in the council. So I would like to read it. It's kind of long, but I think it's very important, so to remain proper decorum. I'm going to start at the top. A resolution concerning, do you guys have this? It's been in your packet, but he gave me a fresh copy. So I'll read it. Please listen. Current public comment rules. That's what's going on right now based on what we're following. A resolution concerning public comment on agenda and non-agenda items at town council meetings. Whereas the business of the town of Richlands is conducted at the Richlands Town Council meeting, and whereas the town council values the opinions of its citizens and welcomes public comment on agenda and non-agenda items of town interest, and whereas the town council wishes to facilitate the order of reception and dissemination of information, and whereas the town council determines that this can be best accomplished in an environment where the rules of the conduct of meetings are clearly established. Now therefore be resolved at the town council of the town of Richlands that the following rules and procedures are hereby established. Section 1, agenda items. A, The town council shall maintain an agenda which shall list items to be discussed at town council meetings. Speakers who have requested inclusion on the town council meeting agenda are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person unless prior arrangements have been made with the mayor or the town council by motion at the beginning of the meeting increases or reduces the time limit. No speaker should be permitted to cede his 5-minute allotment to another speaker. Each speaker shall speak from the podium or microphone and shall state his or her name and address for the record. Citizens are invited to suggest topics of town interest to be placed on the town council agenda. A citizen who wishes to place a topic on the agenda shall notify the town council or their designee 2 weeks in advance of the town council meeting at which the proposed topic is to be discussed. The citizen who suggested that the topic be placed on the agenda shall have 5 minutes to make his or her presentation on the topic. Section 2. Non-agenda items. Citizens shall have the opportunity to make comment on a non-agenda item during the town council meeting. Each speaker who has not been previously included on the agenda should be limited to a maximum comment period of 3 minutes. No speaker shall be permitted to cede his 3-minute allotment to another speaker. Each speaker shall speak from the podium or microphone and shall state his or her name and address for the record. Section 3. Documents. Any speaker who intends to produce a report, diagram, map, photograph, compilation of data, or other document to the town council at a meeting shall also provide the town clerk or the designee with 10 hard copies. And if possible, 1 electronic copy of all documents of at least 5 business days prior to the town council meeting, so that the documents may be maintained as a part of the record of the meeting. Section 4, Decorum. Very important. Comments by citizens on agenda or non-agenda items are limited to statements. Speakers may not engage the town council members or town employees in a question and answer exchange. The town council encourages civility and public discourse and requests that the speakers refrain from language which would incite an immediate breach of the peace and refrain from undue repetition, extended discussion of irrelevancies, use of obscenities, and personal attacks. Any person who violates these rules may be declared out of order by the mayor. A person who persists in violating these rules may be removed from the meeting. A copy of this resolution shall be posted on the town's website. This resolution shall take effect upon passage. Mayor White asked for a motion to adopt the resolution. Francis Meadows made the motion to approve the resolution. Larry Johnson seconded the motion. The vote was 6-0, all in favor with corrections. Motion carries. And that's what I have as presented to me by Town Manager John O'Daniel. The thrust of this is public comment is for us to listen, and that in discussion of what is being asked or said in any way should remain until we are in our own time of councilman comments, so that we may give us time to think about what is being said, interpretation being presented by any member of this community, that we have proper time to digest what they're saying, process it, and act on it, or propose that we study it and act on it at another session. Thank you. Okay, so with that being said, we are now ready for scheduled public comments. That's item 7, Laura Malo, Revitalization Grant. Ms. Malo, would you please state your name and address once you get to the podium for the benefit of the record, please? Thank you.
Laura Malo, 262 Linwood Drive in Richlands. I won't take up the whole 5 minutes this time. I think the Revitalization Grant is an excellent opportunity for Richlands, not just the businesses, but for the town itself. I actually got to attend the last meeting that was here, and I think the next meeting is on the 15th, maybe, of November. My only suggestion to you guys is to please maybe advertise that, get the word out to the local businesses a little bit more clearly. I've spoken with a couple business owners who weren't aware of the grant, so I don't know. I mean, my suggestion might be to draw up a letter and to send, because we should have a list of the businesses based on the business licenses. So to just maybe draft one letter, make a bunch of copies for those businesses, and get those people in here for the meeting so that they're not missing out on grant money. And so the town, obviously, those buildings are being revitalized so that they're being able to look better, and it's gonna benefit the town as a whole. So I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we have, for item 8, unscheduled public comments, 3 minutes, please. Shanna Plaster. Ms. Plaster, thank you for coming this evening as a member of the Board of Supervisors. It's always an honor to have our members here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to see everybody tonight. I just wanted to come out, I just want to urge us to be looking into our flood problem again. I sent some of you all a grant, a FEMA grant, and the other 2 got returned, and I apologize for that. But I was really excited when I saw the grant because it not only fixed our flooding problem, but it also fixed helped our economic development. And I think anytime that we can find a grant that fixes a problem and brings us forward, I think we need to look into that. That being said, I attended the last, I think it was the last flood committee meeting. And that's where we left it, that we need to have a feasibility study in order to move into some of these grants. The county is offering to advertise for a firm to do the feasibility study and to hopefully they can look into some of these grants that we've missed. Unfortunately, the grant that I sent you all, the deadline is tomorrow for the pre-application fee. For the pre-application. But I just wanted to put that in the front of your minds. I think we still need to keep that a priority. I think we still need to think of that because we can't have economic development if half our town is flooding every 4 or 5 years. We need to fix the problem. But thank you all very much.
Ms. Plaster, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I think everybody has my number. If y'all want to talk about it, the county wants to help out and be involved in however we can. Just email me, call me, and we can discuss it further. But I appreciate y'all and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Plaster. Okay, so that concludes public comments. We shall move on to agenda item 9. First is a electric PCA discussion. John, I'll turn that over to you to lead that if you don't mind.
We're having some technical difficulties getting Zoom ready, so I'll go ahead and start on the next item as we work on that.
Would it behoove us to have a short recess to allow the public to Zoom in with us, maybe? I will do this. I declare a 10-minute recess. Thank you.
He showed me that picture, I started laughing, he goes, Jeff had a talk to me.
Did you guys go to Paris? I believe you were there. And when did you know the people?
Go Hokies.
Sorry, just want to say that.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Jake. That's Jake. Oh. Are we paying these guys for this?
I gotta take care of it. Fair enough. Fair enough.
No,
Pardon. Oh, yeah.
don't take, we've not taken the advice of experts in the past. But- I'm good.
Well, we didn't have the dinner last year, Larry Johnson bought the house and gift everybody, like, no, Thanksgiving, but he paid for all that instead of, cause he was gonna pay for the dinner, remember?
No, but I think, what on the nineteenth? On the nineteenth? I think it's the nineteenth. Well, Jerry told me he was trying to get quotes from, Graves Gate, and it's during the day, like while they're working. It's like a 2-hour lunch or something. Do like a 2-hour lunch for them.
I would like to call the meeting back to order. Councilman Hurst had to be excused, well, he was excused he wanted to go see his son play briefly in a ball game. He'll be back in about 30 minutes. Thank you. All right, so let's see here. We have, we're on unscheduled, we're on agenda items, Roman numeral 9A, electric PCA discussion. We have Jake, is that correct, Jake? Can you hear me?
You should be able to.
Welcome, Jake. We're glad you're here. We have apartments for rent and homes for rent here. We can fix you right up. And you can join us in the electrical program.
He's probably still celebrating the Braves win down there in Atlanta. So, but I've passed out a copy of the slides that he's prepared, as well as a copy of the page of the PCA that's currently in our rate schedule. Ask him to present essentially what we currently have in place, and then what his recommendation would be if we do move forward with the PCA. And then I'll kind of turn it over to him and let him kind of walk through the slides. I got to explain what they've come up with as a recommendation for the town of Richlands.
Go ahead, Jake.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I have to be fairly succinct. We must cover a lot of this ground in the last couple of meetings. Let me I'm not sure I can pull the screen, but I think you all have the slides in front of you. It's just a key slide with most of the review. There's our cost investment formula. So starting kind of on the second slide there, that highlights the goals of the PCA, the requires to scenarios that we looked at, the left-hand side would be just where their normal month-to-month variation in energy might be caused by differences in weather. That would have a slight change on a typical residential bill when you include this PCA factor. You can see the blue line would be monthly billing. No PCA, and the orange line would be the monthly billing under kind of our 3-month adjustment proposal. On the right-hand side is one where our transmission costs we keep in the summer, which I know we've talked about this several times. We budget based on winter peaks, and our winter peaks are much higher than our winter peaks, so the summer peak actually occurs. Our power costs will be quite a bit lower. And with this PCA approach where we can pass through those credits to the customers, you can see there that on a 3-month bill, the average bill would go down in the latter half of the year in that scenario. So under this approach, if we could, having some, we can pass some of the savings on through. Now on slide 5, this shows the over under recovery balance. And what I mean by that is our electric rates have built into on the assumption of a certain amount of power cost per kilowatt hour. And to the extent that we over or under the true power cost based on what we have baked into our rates, that balance can get rather long. Again, on other scenarios or these transmission scenarios. So under the balance would mean that we've collected more than what our actual costs were on the slide. And a negative balance would mean we've not collected enough relative to our actual power costs. And so it's there in a scenario as in particular again on the if we had a summer transmission peak where our costs would be a lot lower than what we projected, then a large balance we built up without a PCA factor, with that 3-month PCA, flowing that credit back through to the customers, the balance wouldn't be as large, kind of over collection balance. So that was a real quick just overview of the kind of analysis. We presented some of this information next month as well, but I'm glad to answer any questions. Slide 6 then was really kind of the proposed tariff language with effect our PCA approach. And the highlights are that it would update automatically, every 3 months, if you were to put 2 tiers next to each other, another thing you notice is the introduction of this O or the formula there, and that represents the ballot tracking rule, to track over and under recovery of power on that balance that I showed in slide 5. So this would be GDS's recommendation to adopt. My hope was to be succinct, and I'm glad to answer any questions you want to make.
Mayor,
Yes.
Jake, I want to thank you for all of your involvement and everything that you have taught us. I have learned a ton about PCA and how it is beneficial. And Mayor, I would like to make a motion.
Yes.
I will make the motion that we accept GDA's recommendation for PCA.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor from Councilman Mike Street to accept GDA's
GDS.
GDS's recommendation for power cost adjustment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Richard seconds the motion. Is everybody clear what the motion is? Okay. The floor is open for discussion from members of council.
May I comment?
Yes, you may.
I mean, as far as PCA by itself, that's fine. But if you look at the entirety, when the town takes money off the top as we do, it's going to put an undue burden on the citizens and the PCA, because PCA has to take into consideration the cost of the electricity, running the system, and the money that the town takes off the top. So it's trying to fulfill 2 different roles. And I would like to ask the town attorney if we shouldn't ask for comments from the community that are present on, wouldn't that be, since it's a public utility, that they should be able to make comments?
Well, I believe that would be up to the council if they would want to allow that. I don't think it's my decision to make. I think it's up to the council.
Doug, I appreciate what you're saying. I think we have been counseled correctly. It is not his decision nor suggestion. If community members should be involved, that'd be a council decision.
Okay, would I ask the council, would the council mind comments from the public at this time?
I don't know what the benefit is, Doug. We've already had unscheduled public comment and scheduled comment. If it was that important to them, why were they not here to talk when this
They're-
agenda's been posted for?
They're here now. Could we not let them speak now?
Doug, as far as
We have an
protocol,
agenda
we,
for a reason. I'm good.
Doug, I understand what you're asking and appreciate it. As far as public comment, this is our time to discuss amongst us, is my understanding of what I was trying to read here. Thank you.
Oh, can I finish my comment?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're not going to let the public, to me, the public should be able to comment at any time because they pay the bills and we work for them, but I disagree with that. But that's what council does. They don't allow for enough community participation. But being said that, I still think I'm going to vote no on a PCA simply because if it was just running the system and paying for the system, that's fine. But a PCA will have to fulfill two or three different roles, and it's going to be a burden to our citizens to pay that PCA. Okay.
Thank you.
I have one last comment.
Yes.
It's on. Yep. Green light. Show red light. We've been through this numerous times. This doesn't do anything that harms any type of user for our electrical system. This allows for credits on bills when it's not being used. I see zero issues with this. This will benefit our citizens. We give our citizens plenty of opportunity to speak. That's what we're here for. We're elected to make these decisions. We give plenty of notice and plenty of opportunity for any citizen to say anything. That's a very unfair statement to all of council and very disrespectful. I'm always open to any conversation. I've had people reach out to me to tell me how great PCA is, to compare it to the rest of the landscape of what, financially is not fair, and I think this is completely different, and I think your reasoning is wrong, and I think that maybe you don't understand, or maybe need to talk to Jake some more in regards to what this looks like and how this can benefit our citizens. It's a total benefit.
May I say,
That's
go ahead,
my
Mike.
comment.
Here I have a suggestion for members of council. You've had 2 times, right, Doug? And you've had 2 times, is that
I
correct?
like it's pretty
But I
important.
want to suggest at least one more chance for each person to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
Can I speak on something?
Yes, you may. That would be 3 times for each person, to be fair. Is
I
that
just need
correct?
once.
I'm just trying to lay the ground rules so we don't have a breakdown in communication here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can remember being on the council, I think it was 2006 to 2010, and at different times, we voted monthly as to whether or not we added the PCA or didn't add the PCA. Am I correct?
That is correct.
The only part, even though I seconded the motion, the only part that I didn't like about this was it updates automatically without the need for council approval. I do like the every 3 months, but I think being updated and kept apprised of what the PCA and how our utilities are actually performing, maybe we need to look at voting on it every 3 months. Because it may be something that we don't need
would that be an amendment to the motion?
I just opened it up for discussion. That's-
Well, I'm following you, Richard, but if that is an ultimate result, well, we could talk about that in a minute, okay? But I'm thinking it would be based on what Mike is saying here.
If Mike's motion fails, I'll make another motion to.
To alter it.
to-
I don't have an issue, I can amend my motion. I mean, I can,
It just gives us some idea, and it also gives Mr. O'Daniel and his staff some idea of how our budget is performing. I agree with you, as far as it not being a moneymaker, but I can remember on several occasions, Mr. Taylor saying that we don't need to add the PCA this month. And I don't want it to go for 6 to 9 months, and we didn't need the PCA, but we added it anyways. That's my.
I follow. Okay, before we go any further with amending, is there any more discussion on this motion as it currently stands?
I've spent more time, and I do understand the electric system probably as good or better than anyone on this council. And I do understand what PCA is. I know the bottom line is that the bill that customers get each month, that PCA is going to add more to that bill. Okay, if you look at the entirety of the situation, the PCA is not a benefit to everyone. It adds more to that bill in that if we weren't taking off the top $600,000-700,000 each year, that PCA would probably never have to be used, and it would be zero. I understand that, and that's a fact. And just saying the PCA is a benefit, that's bullcrap. Okay? It's not a benefit when the town's taking such a large sum off the top. And how can it be a benefit to the citizens when only 79% of the town pays that? Marianne doesn't pay that. I don't pay that in Hidden Valley. And I'm not sure, are you?
I'm AEP.
Okay, 3 of us on council don't even have to pay that. Yet we're going to vote it on the rest of the town. That's not a benefit. And I'm sure if it was challenged in a court of law, that would be illegal for part of the town to have to carry the budget when myself, Marianne, and with all due respect, Richard, doesn't have to pay this.
Does that conclude your comment, Doug?
I couldn't
Making
have a fourth one later. I'm kidding.
It's okay. I'm trying to, as I said, so we have a civil conversation.
But one last thing, I'll put my record up
Is this,
knowing
3A?
about the electric with anybody in here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think there is a suggestion to withdraw the motion and then remake a motion would be the best thing, I think.
yeah, absolutely, I'll withdraw that motion for Richard's motion.
Do you withdraw the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this motion has been withdrawn.
I'd like to make the motion to institute the PCA based on the approval of council every quarter, not that it automatically updates without the need for approval. That way it gives us some idea of how well our utilities are performing, and then we're not actually overcharging or collecting something that we don't need to collect.
Okay. So the motion is to adopt the PCA with the review by council every 3 months.
Yes, sir.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. I tried to state it as clearly as possible. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to adopt the PCA as presented with the exception that it will be reviewed by council every 3 months. There's a motion and a second. I will entertain one discussion from each person.
You want to go first, Mikey?
You go ahead.
I will vote no, but with all due respect to Richard, that's the most sensible addition to that amendment, but I will be forced to vote no because of the entirety. Okay, but that was a great idea. Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being no discussion, I
Mayor,
will ask, yes.
For clarification, I do not know how quickly we can get this in place and on our bills. So I think on in the handout you all have, there's an effective date. I just asked for some leniency on the staff side to try to, update our system, with everything else we have going on to try to get that in there. Hopefully it'll be in the next 30 days, but if it's a little bit longer, I'll keep you up to date on that timeline.
Thank you, John. I'm sure that council will extend every leniency that it can, knowing that expediency is of the greatest importance. Thank you. That being there, there's no further discussion. Yes, Mary Ann?
First, as Mikey said, I would like to thank Jake. A lot of time and effort, and I've learned a lot. And I guess I would just like to know our town manager's opinion on the recommendation and on the motion that's currently on the floor.
I think the 3 months makes sense. Essentially, we're doing it at an annual basis right now. At the end of the year, we reassess. I think the 3-month review and approval by council is going to be very difficult for you all because we may have 3 quarters where it goes down, and you may have 3 where it goes up. So every time it goes up, you're gonna have people that are upset because it looks like you're going up on their utility bills. Versus if it kind of regulates itself, you can kind of be more hands off. But I think that being updated and know where it is definitely something that I would think that would be important to council. I just want you all to know that there are going to be some quarters where we have to go up because our electric cost went up, and you're going to be getting those phone calls. So,
What's involved in that cost?
the cost of
The electric system. I think there's 3 or 4 different aspects. It's to pay the people that run the system. It's to pay for the electricity and to pay for the $700,000-800,000 that's taken out off the top, which will put an undue burden on the PCA. Is that correct?
I believe the PCA is just based on the cost of electric, but I would defer to GDS for clarification.
Jake, you with us?
I am, so the cost as written is total power costs, and so it's essentially the cost to procure the power, so it's the cost from the Blue Ridge Power Administration, it's any generation costs of your own generation, and it's your transmission costs, so it does not include distribution costs, or A&G or overheads.
Okay, thank you.
But the entirety of the bill, it's not directly to the PCA for the cost, but if you look at the entirety, running the system with those 3 or 4 aspects that I brought to the attention of the town manager, that PCA is going to be indirectly reflected higher into that bill because of the money or the extra money that the town takes off the top.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, John. Thank you, Marion. Is there any further comment? There being no further comment, I will entertain a vote. I would like a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
With all due respect to Richard, his was a great addition. I still will have to vote no.
Yes.
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 The motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next, item B is on Roman numeral 9 is Planning Commission member update. John?
All right, I have a handout that lists all the members of the Planning Commission, and then the next 2 items are the IDA as well as the Zoning Board. And I'll pass this out. Due to the amount of turnover we've had, the terms and how long each person's been appointed, we've lost all that. So I'm asking council to essentially reappoint all these to the terms that are out beside their name, so we can kind of start fresh on this. Usually this is something that we try to do in June or July at the start of the year.
It's coming this way.
Okay, so, John, you're asking for, the, council to reappoint, Rich to the planning commission. Let's take it step by step, is
Correct.
that correct? And then the IDA and then the zoning board of appeals?
Correct. The issue we had is all these individuals have been appointed. We just had some issues and weren't sure exactly what the terms they were left on their appointments. So we wanted to try to clean that up as best we could. With the amount of turnover we had, there were some questions on exactly, who had 1 year and who had 2. So we wanted to clean that all up.
Okay, thank you. So, I will read this. Planning commission members are Richard Smith, chairman. His term ends June 30th, 2022. Randy Smith is the vice chairman. His term ends June 30th, 2024. Elliot Joyce, June 30th, 2024. Michelle Ellswick, who is the secretary, June 30th, 2024. Barry Alley, June 30th, 2022. John O'Daniel and Jeff Hurst. John's a member of all these things as the town manager, and Jeff is a council representative to the planning commission, and they're concurrent with their terms of employment and council term. So I will ask for a motion to accept these members for the terms as listed.
I'll make that motion.
Richard makes the motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Mike seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, I will ask for a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
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 The motion carries unanimously. Next, we have, Don, I'm going to take this for item C. Is that correct? On the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. IDA member update. Is there anything you need to say about these, or would you just want us to adopt them as they are?
Yeah, the only thing I'll point out on this one is the IDA is looking at changing their meeting time. At this point, the 8 a.m., the second Tuesday of the month wasn't ideal for them, so we're working through when that date will be. So if that does change, I wanted to make you all aware of that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Industrial Development Authority members are Blake Ray, Chairman. His term expires June 30th, 2024. Larry Johnson is, reading as it says here, his term expires June 30th, 2024. Jan White, her term expires June 30th, 2025. Gary Jackson, his term expires June 30th, 2025. Cody Ellswick, his term expires June 30th, 2022. Reese Strong, his term expires June 30th, 2022. And Craig Earls, his term expires June 30th, 2023. What we're voting on is the people, the members, and their terms. So is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Doug makes the motion
I'll
to
second
accept
the
them, and Mike seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
I'll just mention that Larry Johnson is the vice chair of the IDA. That is missing from there.
So we should pencil this in that Larry Johnson is the vice chair. All right. So we have a motion by Doug and a second by Mike. Am I correct? Okay. Any discussion? I will ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Now, let's see here. The ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, item D. Before we do that, do you want to address this vacancy, John?
I can. We'll need this approved as we did the previous two, but also there is an opening on this board. We did receive a recommendation, if the mayor wants to mention that name, for that opening, but we'll leave it up to council if you want to appoint somebody at this time, and then hopefully approve the entirety of that board.
John, if I'm incorrect, please always tell me. I spoke with John this afternoon to make sure I understood what was on the agenda, and he said that Gene Hurst, who's the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, suggested Larry Whited, who I've known him for years, but anyway, that's irrelevant. And he expressed this as Gene's recommendation, not particularly from the whole board, is that correct? But
Correct.
that is a recommendation from Gene Hurst, the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I would suggest that if council wants to entertain that, they could do that now. Has Gene talked to him and he is willing to serve?
I would have to assume that Gina spoke to him if he was going to recommend him.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that council, if that is something council wants to consider, that we follow something we've been doing recently, if that is council's will, to appoint him with the understanding that he will accept it. And I would think that would be the first thing we could do if that is what council wants, but there may be someone else I do not know. Larry Whited, he was the manager of Lowe's for many years. His wife is Helen Carmody Whited, and she's a wonderful gardener.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Larry Whited to the zoning board of appeals contingent upon his acceptance.
Okay, and I'm assuming, Mary Ann, I want to make sure I'm right on this term. Larry's term would end on June 30th, 2022, next year. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so that would be for his term. So there's a motion on the floor to appoint Larry Whited to the zoning board of appeals. Let me just look at something here. That is good. Okay, is there a second for this motion?
I'll second the motion.
Mike seconds the motion. There's a motion on the floor and a second to appoint Larry Whited to fulfill the vacant seat good through June 30th, 2022 to the zoning board of appeals. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, I will ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. The motion carries. Now, let's go back and take a vote, and we'll include Larry in this. So if you don't mind to pencil him in, I will ask John to make sure that he's on board with this, okay? And we'll pencil Larry in for the vacant seat, Larry Whited.
And as soon as I get confirmation from him, we'll have the attorney handle that with the courts as we have to.
And the financial interest that they have to conclude or include, right? Okay, so is there a motion to reappoint Gene Hurst, who's the chairperson, for his term of office, which ends June 30th, 2023, Bill Patton, whose term ends June 30th, 2023, George Brown, whose term ends June 30th, 2024, Barry Alley, whose term ends June 30th, 2025, and Larry Whited, whose term will end June 30th, 2022. A motion.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Mike seconds. There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 The motion carries. Thank you, John.
Mayor, if I may, as far as the names on here, I know Gene's first name is Eugene. I think for the circuit court appointment, we need to have official first names. So does anybody know of any names that are?
I know his name is Eugene H. Hurst, Hamilton Hurst Jr., or whatever, but I would suggest that you're correct. It needs to be formal. And I do
We
not-
can reach out
I've only
to each
known
of them.
these people by their.
We'll reach out to
common
each of them to
names.
make sure we have the right full name.
I think you're absolutely right. Thank you.
I will note that on the IDA, we had several members resign recently. And at some point, we actually had for about a month an additional member above what that group is allowed. We had 8 members. But recently, Steve Jesse resigned from that group. So there isn't a seat to fill. So I wanted to make sure you all are aware of that if you were aware that he had resigned from that position.
I want to thank you for that, and I was going to bring that up. So are we within the proper number based on the?
Yeah, we have
charter?
7 members and the
bylaws.
ordinance allows for 7.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that, and we want to thank everybody for their service who is retiring from these positions. Okay, John, Blue Ridge Power, appointment of alternate director. I think we have a.
Can I ask a quick question, Mayor?
You
In
certainly
regards
may.
to these commissions and authorities? And this might be a question for the lawyer. Are we within our right to increase the number of these and rec commission and other commissions? I'm curious. Is it within council's right to increase the number to ensure quorums?
To increase the numbers of these 3?
Well, just not necessarily these 3, also rec commission. We've got a ton of rec
I
commissions.
believe the rec commission And most of the other ones are ordinance-based, so council would have the authority. As long as it's not listed in the charter, then that would be the only place, but I believe most of those are created by ordinance.
Well, the charter right here for the planning commission is 7 members.
Okay.
And if you look very carefully at that charter, the word shall is for the planning commission, and the rec commission has a slightly different wording.
And the BZA is also listed in the charter as well, but the rec commission, that's by ordinance, because they are looking at potentially recommend some changes to council. And then what was the other one you were asking
I
about?
was asking about all of them, so I was just curious.
Yeah. I believe IDA is ordinance as well.
IDA was appointed by council. I don't recall if it's ordinance or not. I don't know, but I remember I was on the council when it was created.
Do we know if they're having an issue with quorums or
Do you
anything?
remember it, Richard?
Who?
Were you here?
The IDA, are they having any problems with quorums?
Not recently. We've got some new members on there, so they may have only been at one meeting, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's got different commitments and things like that. I'm just curious if, quorums are tough sometimes.
And that's why we're looking at potentially a different time.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Let's see here. Okay, let's move on. So we are on item E, Roman numeral 9, item E, Blue Ridge Power, appointment of alternate director, and you have an ordinance, pardon me. I have it right here in front of me. Is it a resolution? Here it is. Okay, there is a resolution in front of you. It's R 2021-11-01. Alternate appointment to Blue Ridge Power Agency's Board of Directors. Whereas John O'Daniel currently serves as Director of Blue Ridge Power Agency as a representative for the town of Richlands, and whereas Town Council desires to appoint Heather Perry as an alternate representative for the town of Richlands for the term of her office or at the will of the town council. This resolution was adopted by a vote upon motion made and seconded by. I am totally fine with that. I just want to mention, Heather, since you're here, may I ask a question? I'm fine with this. It's just wording. The term of your office, do you hold an office? I think,
We basically just took the last letter that Tim had done.
okay. I just am curious, yeah, I just think that word needs to be changed. We can do it right here because you don't really hold an office.
Right.
I would say term of employment. Does that sound better? I'm asking.
Probably.
Why don't we just remove it and say at the will of town council?
We can do that.
That's sufficient.
Okay. So I will ask that we be very careful. And says, whereas Town Council desires to appoint Heather Perry as an alternate representative for the town of Richlands at the will of the town council. Is that satisfactory? I hope you understand where I'm going. In the future, when we're not here, someone may look at this and say, office? Thank you. Okay. Has everybody got that, what I'm suggesting? Are you on board with that, John?
Yeah. I was just thinking finance officer, and that's probably what that was referring to, so
Okay.
I'm fine with the change.
Okay, it implies whatever. Okay, so is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-11-01?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution R 2021-11-01.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
There's a double second. It's a double dip for you, Heather. We want to put that in the minutes, please. That Mary Ann and Richard simultaneously made a second. Thank you. It's proper. Okay, it's proper. Okay, now, there's motion and a double second. I'll take a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Doug,
Yes.
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 The motion carries. Thank you, Connie. Okay, next. Okay. Next, green space update. John?
As you can tell, they've been working away at the stage. We've ran into a couple hiccups. There's a couple small changes that the architects have been reviewing. We hope that TNL will be getting back to the contractor the first part of this week, so then they can make the necessary changes. There was some small things like adding some extra brackets, use of nails versus screws, so nothing major. The next thing is when they get to a point, they'll be having the roof made by a third-party company. That company comes and does their own measurement to make sure that it'll fit, so they don't want to come in until they're completely ready. I think the original goal was mid-November. It's looking like we'll end up probably having to push that back a little bit, so we'll be reaching out to drawing a blank, Debbie Milton and Cumberland Plateau, see if we can get a little bit of a time extension, but I think that they will be able to see the progress and be willing to continue to work with us on that. In addition to that, we've already submitted a phase 2 grant application to them to finish out that project.
What is the total cost of that? It was 100 and...
I believe it's like 100 and change. I'm not like 105 to 110, somewhere in there.
Well, what was the question, Doug?
What was the cost of the project?
For
I
the
know
green
it-
space?
Yeah, it had changed. It started at 90 and then it,
Yeah, and I don't remember what the exact breakdown was, grant versus town funding. Okay.
oh, it's 124.
Yeah, but we used it also for the community development center.
Okay.
It included that and the play area and the stage. Then, of course, materials went up and that's the reason it has a heck of a.
Sure. But the total project was 124.
Well, it'll be more than that now because, another $50,000 we had to get approval to add to it.
I'd hesitate to, because it's been a while since I've looked at the figures, but I can get those to you if it's something you'd be.
I'm just curious how many people can we get on that?
I don't.
Yeah.
It's probably, Connie, I'll suggest this, Doug, to answer that. I can't give, there is no definitive answer because it's an outdoor space and we really don't know. I mean, we could guess, but I don't know.
How
It's
much-
a legitimate question, but I don't know.
How much property does the town own compared to North Lindsay and the post office? How big is that? It's an acre in it, or? I'm just curious.
I'd have to pull it up on GS. I know we own both sides of the parking lot. You're talking about, well, there's a parking on the side where the stage is, then we own the parking on the other side as well. But I'm not sure where exactly the lines are between, I think, your property, that property, and the post office.
I think all I own is to the driveway.
Yeah, and I think we own from that to the post office, but I wouldn't guarantee it, but that's what I believe last time it
So
was.
you own most of the parking to the post office? Okay. I mean, I'm sorry, not you, the town.
I believe so.
Okay.
Are we eliminating both sides of that parking lot for the green space? All the way to the bushes?
At this time, where the stage is, I think we're gonna just keep that part, where the AstroTurf and all that, and we're gonna figure out where the playground's gonna go when we actually get everything done. The stage ended up being a little bit bigger than the original plans. And then it's the intent to leave the other side, as parking or a drive-through, at this time, unless, something changes in our plans. So then you could have food trucks or other things parked over there, that would, benefit off the stage being there for an event or things of that nature. If we wanted to, we could, but I don't think that's in the big scope right now.
Any other thoughts on this green space, John? Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Moving along. G, charter, public comment, and ARPA work session reschedule.
I'd just like to, try to reschedule the meeting that we had tried to have, I believe, last week before last, that we weren't able to have due to, not getting the public notice out there in time. So I'd like to kind of have a discussion with council and see, if there's a date in the next week or two that you may work. I know the holidays are coming up, so it may be difficult, but I think it's sometime you need to sit down and kind of have a game plan, especially on the ARPA money. Even though you really, some of those items in there really are contingent on, how much the water and the wastewater upgrades you may cost.
I'm open.
Okay, let's look at our calendar. Shall we schedule this? Okay,
How
for the
much
work session.
notice is required, so that way we can look at when we could potentially, the first date that we would have available?
I believe it's only 48 hours for a special meeting, but
That would be a meeting of council, I think. Is that right, Tom? At a
Correct.
work session, we still need required public notice.
Yeah.
Marion, I don't know, I was just trying to understand that too. Well, let's look at our calendars, I suggest, and then see what we have. John, what would, if, just under any regular circumstance, what would we normally be required if it wasn't a special meeting of the council, which I consider it a work session? But, I mean, that's just my own thought. 2 weeks?
I think it depends on what the nature of it is. But I think 48 hours is what we've done in the past. But usually it's we advertise it for a week or so or whatever the time is.
Yeah, and Mary and I'm with you. I wish we could just do it, but in order to be within the safeguards, I will suggest we give it all the time that we need, not to delay it, but the proper time. Do you think 2 weeks is sufficient?
I think so. Because usually when we run into the issues is trying to get it in the newspaper because there's a public hearing or something of that nature. And when we only have one paper that runs a week, sometimes when on Tuesday night we decide to have a meeting and we can't get it in tomorrow's paper.
Right.
So it pushes off a week before we could even. I think for special called meeting, we're able to put it in Facebook, our social media platforms, the website, and get that public notice approved. But I would definitely run it by the attorney and make sure that we've got that.
I would suggest, can we go ahead and set a tentative date, and you can email everyone saying this is a firm date?
I think that'd be good.
Is that acceptable? All right, I just think we need to be in the guidelines here so we don't have any, there's not any hint of impropriety. That's where I'm headed with it. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, so today's the 9th, and we're coming up, let's see here.
2 weeks will be the week of Thanksgiving, so.
I don't know what's going on for you guys. Should we go the next week? What do you think, council? So we can meet before council?
I'm completely open, whatever works for
Are you open? How about you, Richard?
If it's on Thanksgiving, then you're feeding us.
No.
Tuesday the
You would
23rd?
want my cooking. Thank you.
Tuesday the 23rd work or not? That'd be too close.
Too close, Jeff?
Tuesday the 23rd?
Oh, I thought you said too close.
No, I didn't know if that would be too close.
That's okay. I have a doctor's appointment. I'll be through by 5 o'clock, so we could have it at maybe 6-ish on the 23rd. Marion, how's it looking for you?
What is the Thanksgiving holiday for the town? On the website it has that we're closed the 25th and 26th, but also says the 24th. Is that a half day? Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay with the 23rd, but personally, I think the 29th or 30th.
They look better to you?
But
Uh,
the 23rd's better for the rest of the council. I'm fine with the 23rd.
29th would look great.
How's it working for you, Doug? 29th? Marianne, could you work with the 29th?
That's what I
Jeff,
think that week's better.
do you have anything on your calendar at that time?
I do, but
You do?
go ahead. We can do it.
No, we need you here. We need all the members of council here. We can select another day. Are you going to be here the 30th?
I can make it work. I can
You
make
can?
it the 29th.
Okay. Mike, how about you?
I think that's close enough to Thanksgiving that you still need to provide dinner.
Okay.
I'm
I will. What would you like? I brought a ham here many times, actually. Do you recall that, Marianne? I brought a wonderful ham from Food City, spiral cut, and all the things. Well, we all brought something, but I brought the meat. All right. Just saying.
I'm good on that.
Okay. You're welcome. Richard, how does that
I
look
want
for
to
you?
check one thing here. Hold on.
Okay. Make sure. I love eating.
I don't miss many meals either.
Does earlier, Jeff, does earlier or later help with your other commitment? Either way? All right.
Wouldn't be the same commitment that I would have, would it?
What is it, rec commission or something?
No.
None of my
Cooper
business.
plays at Bluefields.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But it's a long way off. They could reschedule by then, so it's not a
Okay.
big deal.
Richard, we can try another day if that doesn't work for you.
30th works
We need
better.
council here.
30th works better for me.
All right, what about the 30th, Mary Ann?
That's fine with me.
Doug?
Yeah, since it's Richard, okay. It's my
are you-
busy day, but I'll make a sacrifice.
It's okay to be sweet on people. That's okay, Doug. This is the modern world. Are you ready, Jeff? 30th? Look at Mike.
I still want the food, but the 30th will work.
Food you will have. Mary Ann, is the 30th acceptable for you, Richard?
Yes, 30th works better.
So shall we say November the 30th? It's a Tuesday at Heather. Are you good for that time? Is that what you're checking? Okay. Connie, okay, you good for that? All right. So should we say at 6 o'clock, council? It's hard for me,
Okay.
personally.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Okay, thank you. So we'll set, let me put it in here, work session. Okay.
And that's for public comment also.
No, this is just for us, Doug, to talk about all the things here, which would be charter, the proposed charter changes, how to receive public comment, I think is what he's
Those are the
talking
rules.
about. Maybe modifying these rules just in a work session, not receiving public comment, but how we receive it. And then the ARPA, workshop is fine, I'm just used to calling it a work session, doesn't
Well, I
matter.
mean-
Semantics.
Aren't we gonna have a session where the community gets to voice their opinion?
I think that's a wise thing, and that would be following what council might be proposing in a regular council session, which is why, for example, I'm trying to understand it myself, why we propose to move some of these topics like charter changes into a work session, so we don't have a lot of, I can't think of, banter isn't the right word, but with public, we're working amongst ourselves, public can attend, it's open to the public, but in a public hearing, which would be before council and the public can be notified properly, well in advance of what's going on. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Could we set a date?
I think we should do this first, my own thinking, but I will defer to council. We should have this meeting, and then we would decide when we're gonna make these proposals as a council, as a governing body to the citizens, and then at that time, we can set a public hearing well in advance and broadcast it widely.
Well, let me ask you this. Would it be a better ideal, not, if we had a public hearing and got comments from the community before we make proposals from council? I think we're getting the cart before the horse if we don't.
I think you have a really good point, and I won't deny that from my position at all. Of course, I don't have that kind of power, but I think that these proposals, right now, we're just in this talking stage amongst us, so we can find something to present. And I think we should definitely take into consideration what the public has to say, and I think I would think that all members of council would agree with you on that. But I don't think this is the time to do it. I think it's premature to set a date right now.
Okay.
I'm not against it, but I'm
Sure.
saying timing is important.
I just think, and I agree with you, but I just think it's hard for the council to make proposals without comments from the community. And when, I just think
I'll add to that, Doug, I'm going to help you with this. A proposal, like in a marriage, you propose, there's no guarantee that they're going to say yes. Follow you. Got you. I follow.
Well, if you follow that thought, the community would be asking, and then the council can turn them down. So
We could.
So
We could.
I think you just made my
I can't argue
point.
that. I'm lost. You win. I got it. Thank
So
you.
you made my point.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are there timelines set on the charter and the ARPA?
I asked John that. I'll ask him to explain that.
The ARPA fund, I believe that money has to be spent by 2025. So, the workshop was just to kind of have an idea of what council is thinking that they would like to spend that money on. So then, if we do have a public hearing, at least there's an idea. Right now we've got $14 million worth of potential projects, that we're going to have to narrow it down to our kind of top 5, top 10 list. And that was kind of what I'd hope to get from council at the workshop. So then, if we did do a public hearing, at least the public knows kind of what ideas that we are looking at going forward with. But the money has to be spent by 2025. So some of the items, the money was spent a little bit sooner. Some of them we would hold off to really see potentially what the water, the wastewater, those overruns are, and if there's any additional grant funding that we can receive for those projects that would free up more money for other areas that we'd like to focus on. And then the timeline on the charter, I don't know if they've given us a hard deadline. They just said the sooner the better.
I'll figure that out.
I don't know either, and I don't know how you're going to figure that out, Mike. But I think that for this session of the General Assembly, we're late. Do you think so?
I think it's the 29th of November is when they need everything for their
Is that what it
legislative
is?
services. So
Okay.
I'll find out. But
Okay.
maybe
Well,
it's it.
again, and I don't
Our
know
work
that-
session's till the 30th, so it is.
well, I just throwing that out there. Okay, thank you.
Would you want to schedule a tentative work session just for that sooner, or just wait till the next session when they're in?
Let's wait.
All right.
I think that we're singling out something, it would look odd.
I may potentially
My
have
thinking.
something to add as well that I'm working on. I
Is that
need you to find out how much notice we need in regards to what we put on the notice in regards to what's gonna be on that work session. Because I may have something that I need to talk to council about in that workshop
Okay.
in regards to the potential,
So you want me to find out how much notice that we have to give to change the agenda?
so that I can make sure that that is added.
To the workshop we're gonna have, Mike?
So that we can discuss it.
Okay, I follow you.
It's a good thing. It's a really good thing, but I need to, it's in the process and I'll talk about it in our report.
All right.
Find out so I'll know how much time I have between now and then so we can discuss it.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Are we finished with that, guys? We've settled on a date, members of council. Okay. Moving forward to item H, it is the Junior Firefighters Program Ordinance. So that I can take a rest, I will ask Mary Ann, would you mind to read this ordinance for us, please, so we have a reading of it? Thank you.
Ordinance O-2021-10-01. Whereas the town of Richlands desires to institute a junior firefighter program, and whereas any person 16 years of age or older is authorized to participate fully in all activities of a fire company duly authorized to operate in the town, county, after they become a member of the fire company. B, supplies to the chief fire officer of the fire company written confirmation that such person is a resident of the Commonwealth of Virginia and has parental approval. And C, attains certification under National Fire Protection Association 1001, Level 1 firefighter standards as administered by the Department of Fire Programs, and be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Richlands, Virginia, that the Town of Richlands so establishes the Richlands Junior Firefighter Program in accordance with Virginia Code 40.1-79.1.
Thank you. Mary Ann, I appreciate you reading that, because I remember at the last meeting we were trying to not have a second reading, but you did it, and thank you. All right, so we have an ordinance that is before the town council. Is there a motion to accept? Yes, sir.
I think before we do that, I was reading over this, and in that second paragraph, in all activities of a fire company duly authorized to operate in the town/county, I don't think the town has authority in the county.
You have a good point.
I think that needs to come out, and as far as grammatically,
We provide fire services to the county.
We provide services for the entire west end of the county.
Okay.
So that's not working for the county, that's taking calls within the county. not
Operate
being-
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, operating within, not working for the county.
Okay. And then, I guess grammatically on A, it shouldn't end in a period, a semicolon or and.
I think you're right. Become a member of the fire company and, shall we add that? Okay.
And then instead of supplies for B, for the first word supply in the singular, and then in C, instead of attains, attain.
Let's see, the town of Richlands supply. Okay. You want it SUPPLY? Is that correct? And what was the third suggestion?
And instead of attains, just make it attain.
Singular. Okay. Attain. Okay. Okay. Has everybody made proper note of those corrections? Okay. Okay. Thank you for your help. I appreciate that a lot. So, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Before we do that, I just want to make sure, do you understand what we said as far as counties that suffice, or do you feel like we should just remove county completely?
I think it would be better to remove it. It's a town fire department, may operate within the county.
Should we say authorized to operate for the town
I have,
instead of in the town?
I have a suggestion too. The fire chief is here. Keith, would you mind to step up? Can you hear us, Keith? Would you mind to step up to the podium so we can hear you and explain so that everybody has a fire understanding?
We have a contract with Tassau County to cover the fire calls in the western end, with the exception of Cedar Bluff and Jordan's. So, as far as how that's worded, I don't know, so he's the attorney, but, I do know Tassau County's in the process of following our lead too. And it's that, some of the county departments have the junior department. Don't know how legal they are, like we're trying to be. We're following the Virginia Department of Fire Programs recommendation and the VMA.
Okay. Thank you, Keith.
That's where this was worded.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so, members of council, we have council from the council. Do you want to leave town, or leave county, or remove county? I will poll the council. Richard?
Leave it.
Mike?
I think we leave it because they're gonna be operating within the county.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Leave it.
Doug?
Leave it.
Jeff?
Leave it.
Okay. The council's been polled. We'll leave it. Any other, from our attorney, the manager, or any other members of council before I ask for a motion and a second here? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
And there's a second. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please, on this ordinance. Connie?
Yes.
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 This becomes an ordained law of the town of Richlands. Thank you. Okay. Okay, application discussion. I haven't had time to think about it very much, because, this is pretty much news to me. So, I would suggest that we not become too mired in detail right now. We need something to work with. I would suggest to council, because I don't know, I'll give you my own experience. I told you, when I was first appointed to council, I was appointed. Was your father appointed, Richard?
No, he's elected.
Okay, well, somebody was appointed. Anyway,
Henry Collins.
who was it?
Henry Collins.
Well, we've had lots of appointments to council over the years. It has followed a varied procedure. And so, when I was asked to be on the council, I came to the meeting and I thought there'd just be a done deal. And they formed an interview process. I think I told you this. I went to the interviews, and we had private interviews and public interviews. I don't know how others did on the private interviews. I was not privy to that and should not have been. On the public interview, I'll be honest with you, the other two applicants far outshined me, and I know that. And I was surprised when they came out of executive session and said, I got it. You just never know. And so, in establishing this process, I would suggest that the town manager, I don't know that we can hash all this out right here. It could be very sensitive, and this is my suggestion, it's council's will, that we empower the town manager to develop a process for our consideration that be done with expediency so that we can move forward, so that we can move on this at the December meeting. That's a suggestion. I don't have any other suggestions beyond that. It can get real hairy, you know. What are the criteria?
Well, could we just let them come, interview them with council, and then vote on it? Keep it real simple.
That's what was, I had two interviews, one privately and was scheduled, and one publicly. So I don't know, but that is not precedent setting, Doug. There is nothing really about it. So that's a suggestion. We need some format of questions if we're going to interview people, or just ask them to speak. I don't know. John, what's your thought?
I was gonna, say if y'all want an application, you come up with some basic questions, but it really, it's just up to you all, kind of what you want. If there's something that we have to reach out to these individuals, I'll probably need some help figuring out who they are, and then are you gonna also include the write-in candidates or just the ones that their names are on the ballot?
Well, the motion was made and passed. Was it unanimous, Connie? Doug's motion to have only two people?
No, it wasn't.
Was it not unanimous?
It was a majority.
Okay, simple majority. I can't remember.
The motion was for all candidates that were in those elections, wasn't it?
No, it
Was it
was
just the two?
So I have Rick Wood and Laura Mallow. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It was only those two. Why couldn't we just let them come and make their presentation and then council vote? That's real simple, because we know both candidates and we know them pretty well. And that would be the simplest and the quickest.
Council's will. Doug's expressed his. Marion, do you have thoughts on this? How you would like to see it happen? I mean, the process, not the
I'm
council.
like you, Mayor, it's such a sudden change. But it does seem simpler, I agree with Doug, if the motion passed for two candidates, that we could have an interview.
I will suggest this, if that is what council's will is. I don't know that we should go into executive session. That's what happened previously. I found it to be curious. And so I really think it should be a public vote. That's my opinion. And I don't know that legally we can do that. We're selecting a future member of council. Does that make sense to you guys? Sure. So I'm questioning what happened in my own time.
Sure.
And Mike, your thoughts?
I wasn't in support of doing it this way either way, so, I saw the application process being different. I don't care if it's in public or not, I don't think it should be limited to people. That's just my personal opinion.
Did we the one who voted against it? I can't remember.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll stick to that as well.
Okay, I couldn't
So,
remember.
but that's fine, majority rule, that's what.
That's democracy.
Government, right?
Yeah.
So majority council wants it.
Okay. So, yes, Marion?
Can I have a question to our town attorney? In Tazewell, have you ever had this experience, and if so, how did they handle it?
I know that they've had appointments before, but that was before I was with the firm, so I wouldn't have any personal knowledge on that. So that's something I can talk to Brad about. And I'm assuming somebody from the office will need to be here November 30th. I know that's gonna be a quick turnaround. Of course, that might be something to put on the agenda for that day, to at least advise council as to how maybe Tazewell had done that before.
Are you talking about the applications or?
What, just as the appointment process, I'm not for sure if they've done it. I don't have it.
a legal vote majority, and what Tazewell does shouldn't have any bearing on what we do. You know, don't you agree?
Phil's
Well,
where we at.
but
That's
with
the
five-
point.
Well,
With
let me
five
go back,
of
let me go
us-
back, let me go back.
You see what I'm saying?
One of the things we've done here for years, and I don't think it's the right
Well,
thing,
they can't.
we select people, we select them, somebody makes a motion, they get a vote or not. There should be a slate of candidates. You vote on that slate, just like I'm running in for an office. And the two people on the slate by the current vote would be Woods and Mallow, or Wood, whatever. And that is the slate, and then people vote on them, either
Exactly.
Wood or Mallow. It wouldn't be, I want to appoint, make a motion to appoint Rick Wood,
Put it on the ballot.
and then it fails, and it should be a slate. And we've made this mistake for years, and I've watched it. So I think we should be more cognizant of how we do it. We have a slate of people. And so my suggestion to council is to have a slate. If you want them to submit a resume, that's fine. If you want them to speak in person, that's fine. But those are the people on the slate, unless you want to amend this and have write-ins. But then that becomes a major hassle for the council, in my opinion.
What if somebody abstains?
You should not do it.
Even then with the slate, you still have to motion to approve.
I don't think you should abstain, Jeff, because this is not a conflict
Well,
of
I'm just saying,
interest.
I mean, but-
No, you shouldn't, though. This is voting on a member of council. There's no conflict there. We voted, I don't think that would be working.
Okay.
My opinion. It would foul it up. It would look almost intentional.
But Mayor, even with the slate, you still have to make a motion to.
Adopt the slate and you vote. You cast votes, public votes.
And
Do you
what
follow
if-
what I'm saying?
what if you don't
Are we
want-
eyeballing people? I'm following all this over here.
Yeah, and what if you don't want either candidate?
Then it fails. But I think we're bound to do something. My opinion. And that's just based on my experience tonight. A slate is what you have. It's a slate on a ballot.
If you have a slate, the one that has a majority vote wins. There wouldn't be a vote not to take either one of them. It's the majority if you have a slate.
Okay, I've spoken my piece. What does council, let's just poll council. Mary Ann, how would you like to see this happen? So we can move forward.
I think the resume and an interview process, but again, I think a motion has to be made to select one of the two or neither. That can't, just my personal opinion.
Okay, do you understand what I mean by slate, though?
I do, but still a motion would have to be made to accept the winner of the election, or not the election, but the slate.
Well, for example, let's suppose it's two people, people A and people B, and we go around and conducting, I would say, you voting for person A or person B? You voting for person A or person B? You voting for person A or person B? Are you voting for person A or person B? Person A or person B? That's my take on
What
it.
if you don't want either one?
I can't fix that. I mean, I can't
I'll be
fix it.
vocal with my opinion.
Well,
Well, I'm just telling you what is, I'm working with what's on the floor right now.
Sure. Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we open it up and don't limit it to two people. I make that motion.
you can't, you'd have to take the motion away.
Why can't I make a motion?
I will ask, I don't know. So I will ask for counsel.
I would think that you could make a motion to reverse the previous vote. I think council has that ability, and it's up to council if they want to do that. But I think that's council's ability to do that, to make a motion to disregard the earlier vote.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we reverse the motion and vote that we limit it to two people.
Needs to be an ad motion.